Hi everybody, welcome back once again to the Eastfield Gunroom YouTube channel, and we have got an absolutely belting review for you today. This has been requested a few times. Inevitably, it was something we were going to get to at some point because, as you know, if you watch the channel, I'm a huge Miroku fan, and this is their absolute latest offering. So today, we are going to look at the Miroku MK11. The MK11 was Miroku's first foray, shall we call it, into the low-profile action of the Browning 725. Let's not forget that Miroku manufactured for Browning under license in Japan. The Browning 725 was launched back in 2011, which was the first low-profile action. Historically, Brownings are very deep bodies. We've looked at the 525, we've looked at the MK38, we've looked at the Ultra XS, all deep body actions with full-length hinge pins. So this was completely new in the style of what they did is they reduced the action depth to increase the balance and the handling, and largely, if you look at the tech specs, to reduce felt recoil. So like I say, MK11 2021, from my perspective, certainly here in the UK, Miroku has always been marketed by Browning, and I've said this before on the channel, as kind of like the poorer cousin. There's been very little accessories available over the years. Miroku's largely come in cardboard boxes, where the equivalent Browning will come in a hard case and cost a lot more money. You might get more chokes with the Browning. So I think, despite the fact that Miroku have produced some very high-end guns for different markets, particularly Australia, they've never really come to the UK because Browning didn't really want to put them at that kind of price point, which, you know, was in line with kind of the Browning heritage, the Beretta 687 EEAA. We've done a review, check it out. And it was kind of a risky thing, really, because what they were doing is they were bringing to market a gun which they'd always kind of marketed as, you know, the poor man's Browning, if you like, and putting it at a higher price point to try and attract people that were huge Miroku fans, as I am, to really invest in the brand. We talked about the Miroku presidents in previous videos, and that's exactly what this was. It was, I really want a Miroku, you know, I don't care what it costs to a point, so I'm going to treat myself. And the result is this. So the low profile action, the main difference with the 525 body and the 725 is that it's obviously lower. But what you also get with an MK11 is you don't get the same fire-like mechanical trigger mechanism as you do get with the 725. It's actually got the 525 internals. Now, from my perspective, I believe the reason for doing this is purely down to reliability. You know, the 525 deep body action and the inertia trigger system that offers is absolutely bulletproof, bomb-proof, call it what you like. It will always go bang when you pull the trigger. I can only assume that it was also a cost-cutting exercise because to date, we don't have a 725 side-plated gun like this that's got the 725 mechanical trigger system. If you hold the gun up, you will see it's quite apparent. It is a little bit narrower. I think it's 4 or 5 mil, something like that, shallower in the action. And like I said, that is to enhance the balance of the gun, to reduce the felt recoil, and also to make it more aesthetically pleasing, because let's not forget, if you look at some of the best shotguns in the world, the likes of Holland, Boss, Purdy, they're all on low profile actions, and that just makes for a much sleeker design, in my opinion. This was initially, and still is, only available in a game specification. So what you've got is you've got a choice of 28, 30 or 32-inch barrels, Invector Plus chokes, 18.7 bore, so standard kind of Browning gear, a 6mm narrow game rib parallel. And what was interesting as well is this was the first Miroku that was available again in the UK that had got a solid game rib. Now, Browning experimented with this on the 525 Exquisite and some of the Crown models, but it was the first time we actually saw it on a Miroku, aside from, I think there was a limited edition called an English Fields. So, from the top, absolutely beautifully engraved side plates. Now, historically, Browning side plates, like the Heritage, like the Privilege, always very kind of fine, coin finish, English scroll engraving. None of this real deep stuff that you would get. You know, this is akin to what you'd get on a very high-end Purdy. I saw a Purdy advertised the other day for £165,000, and the engraving in terms of the deep scroll was not dissimilar to this MK11. So what you've got is you've got these long side plates where you've got the pheasants in flight on the one side, nice game scenes with lots of detail in the background, sort of the sky and the land and the trees. And on the other side, you've got some partridges that look like they're being kind of flushed. And it just, from an aesthetic point of view, it just really, really works well. As you'd expect, engraved barrel wings, engraved fences. engraved top levers. We've got some flowers on the top, which we know that the chrysanthemum from previous videos, like the President ones, is a sign of quality in Japan. And we've also got an engraved backstrap, engine turned as you would expect. And again, what you've got is you've got this really nice mix of the sort of the fine-ish game scenes and this almost kind of Celtic scroll. I really like the way that the selector is engraved. Just a lot of attention to detail, nicely finished. The wood to metal fit, which is something I don't really talk about very often, all the way around is very good. On the underside, the fore end iron, again, it's engraved. You've got something floral at the top. I'm not really sure what this is in the middle. It looks like a game of Connect 4, but, you know, obviously the guys in Japan knew what it was and they liked it. It's a happy days. Bottom of the action, again, really, really nice deep scroll picked out. You've got the flowers again, trigger guards engraved. Again, the very deep laser engraved scroll, but also what you've got to remember is with Browning and Miroku of a certain grade, they are hand finished, so there will be a little bit of chasing by hand done on the engraving. I've got to be honest, I don't like the BC Miroku MK11 on the bottom. I think with this being kind of a premium gun, it doesn't really need that. Yes, you might get it on a Silver Pigeon 1 or a 525, but I think of a gun of this mark and this quality, I just think it looks a little bit cheap. My opinion, not necessarily fact. So this gun weighs just under £7, 13 ounces. Now, the whole idea with the low profile action, let's not forget, is to enhance the balance of the gun. So how does it balance? Let's find out. It is typically Browning, Miroku, barrel heavy. Now, I think that's a real shame because the innovation and the design that's gone into this gun, essentially, it hasn't really changed the balance of what you would get on a standard MK38, MK60, etc. Obviously, the factory multi-chokes do make it a little bit heavy on the muzzle, but, you know, looking at that where it is, it's going to need quite a bit of weight in the back end to balance that up. And essentially, what you're going to do then is make the gun heavier. Now, this is a 32-inch barrel gun. Like I said, only available in game specification. Let's not forget this comes as an auto safety as standard. Designed at people that want to shoot tall pheasants, you know, also people that might want to shoot clays that prefer the look of a narrow rib. We talked in a previous video about preferences. You know, an over and under shotgun is universal. You can use it for clay shooting, game shooting, whatever you want. It doesn't have to necessarily be for game because it's spec'd out as a game gun. So I think that is disappointing for me in terms of the balance because I would estimate you probably got to put 4 or 5 ounces up the back end of this stock to make the gun balance. Then you're going to make it 8¼ pound, which you're taking it away from the realms of being suitable for that hybrid game shooting that I talked about. And what's interesting is the way they managed to take the weight out. If you look there, you've got sort of a semi-floating rib here with the rest of the solid rib along here. Obviously, with it being a game gun, it hasn't got ventilated barrels. But having said that, if you look at some of the other Miroku videos, you'll see that the majority, in fact, all of the UK spec ones, don't have ventilated barrels, but they do have ventilated ribs. And let's not forget this little squashed piece of metal on the end, which they're calling a bead. So engine turned, like I said, standard Browning gear, just squashed essentially because it's a lower profile action. Non-adjustable trigger, as you would expect on a game gun. Not in gold, which typically you tend to get on kind of Browning high-grade guns. It's done nicely in the satin silver that Miroku are kind of renowned for, this kind of brushed coin finish, whatever you want to call it. It's an absolute stunning looking gun. When I first saw it back in 2021, I just thought, wow, there was no reason any Miroku fan was going to go, that's not a pretty looking gun. I do believe there are plans for a 20 gauge version, which is going to hit the UK in the next sort of 18 months, apparently. And I also believe there are plans for a sporting version. So you would expect with that to have kind of extended chokes, 10mm parallel rib, adjustable trigger, etc. You know, like an MK38 Sporter, but on an MK11 platform. So move on to the woodwork. This is an absolutely belting piece of wood. This is kind of, according to brand specification, it is grade for European walnut, most likely Turkish. We know they've got all the decent wood these days. And I really like the contrast of this kind of honey and black, I'm going to call it. I've always been a fan of it. I had a Miroku 3800 years and years ago. We had honey and black. It's French walnut. Should never have sold it, but hindsight, we do these silly things, don't we? Very nicely figured. You've got the black streaks running through it and like I said, the contrast of the lighter colours, the honey colours. Nice and strong through the pistol grip and through the head. Like we've discussed so many times with side-plated guns and guns with high-grade woodwork in particular, you need that strength running through the head. Triple point checkering, nice touch, big fan of that. Really, really suits the gun. Nice deep pistol grip, which is probably slightly deeper than you would normally expect on a game gun. I haven't compared it to an MK60, but just by feeling it, it does feel a little bit deeper. So that's just my opinion. But, you know, MK11 users might want to pull me up on that. So stock dimensions, we've got 36, 56, so 36mm drop at comb, 56mm drop at heel. For me, it's too flat, but then again, most guns are too flat, but it is traditional game spec, so you can kind of understand why they've done it. Nice bit of thickness on the comb there, which I would say is probably certainly fatter at the front than an MK60, which is going to suit more people in this country because of the kind of the shape of their face. Pack my decelerator recoil pad on the back like on the 525 Crown. Now, I've shot a few of these guns and I don't think the recoil is that low personally. I don't like recoil. I'm quite susceptible to it, but I did find that the guns that I shot were a little bit whippy and a little bit kicky. Again, that's just my personal opinion. Hand finished, obviously hand checkered, hand finished dropper points. So the synergy of the nice deep scroll, you know, the checkering style, there's a lot of thought gone into this gun. There's no question whatsoever. Like I said, I like the slightly fatter comb. Interesting point on the trigger. They've got this kind of grooved out boomerang banana shape just above the bottom of the trigger. Not quite sure what that's for. I can assume it's only for aesthetics because I've certainly never seen it on a Browning or a Miroku before. But hey ho, like I said, shotgun manufacturers got to keep moving forward, got to keep changing things. We might not all like it, but they've got to keep just doing different stuff. One gripe I have got with this gun is the overall stock length is 375mm, which is about 14¾ inches. Most previous Mirokus with plastic butt plates like the MK60 High Pheasant, which was a gun we'll probably look at, but that was traditionally designed just for shooting high pheasants. With the plastic butt plate, there was more wood. So if you do need to have that extended, you know, it is going to look not the greatest by the time you put a spacer in and a longer pad if you're a tall guy. Personally, I would like to see the stock a little bit longer. Fore-end design. I like it. It's a London-style rounded fore-end with double point checkering. We've already talked about this crazy Connect 4 engraving on the bottom and the leaves and the grapes. Feels nice in the hand. Don't get me wrong. It does feel nice in the hand. I'm particularly a fan of the engraving on the fore-end iron. I think that's really, really nicely done. And it goes well, like I said, blending well with the rest of the engraving on the side plates. So this is a 32-inch gun. It is available in 28 and it is available in 30. As you would expect with all high-grade shotguns, and this is, like I say, the MK11 is Miroku's premium offering here in the UK. Yes, there are different models available worldwide, particularly in Australia, which is something we are coming on to, so do stay tuned for that. You get a nice case. This is the Browning Opaline case. Eagle-eye viewers may remember it from the XS Pro video because it's exactly the same with a different badge on it. Open it up. We've got this velour interior with this Miroku Japanese technology. Nicely finished. Like I said, as a Miroku fanatic, I do like the colour scheme that they've chosen with this. I think it's inoffensive. You know, you open some boxes and they're bright green inside. Obviously, you remember the Yilditz case. Looks like something from the 1970s. I'm happy with this. I like this. As standard, with all Browning and Miroku products these days, nice little attention to detail. We get an inspection certificate to say it's been inspected at the factory by the chief inspector. You've got the serial number, the barrel length, what the chokes are. And then you also get your proof certificate from Liège in Belgium, where you've got the barrel weight and the proof pressures and also the boring of the barrels. Book of words. Let's not forget that here in the UK, you get a 3-year warranty on Mirokus, which does include the woodwork, which, like I said before, is a very good warranty, and a lot of manufacturers don't come close to that, particularly when we're talking about bits of tree. Overall, as a Miroku fan, do I like it? I've got to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan. Yes, I love Mirokus. The MK38 is a fantastic gun. The 3800, which is the predecessor to the MK38, is a fantastic gun. The 9000, which we reviewed, check it out, which is an Australian market gun, is a fantastic gun. I just think it's such a shame with this gun at this price point, when the fact that they've tried to put all this technology and all this innovation into getting a low profile action to increase the balance and reduce the recoil, I just think it's a little bit of a disappointment. Would I buy one? Sadly not. I would buy 2 MK38s over one of these any day of the week. To add to my disappointment, we go back into the box and we've got here this silver box of goodies. It looks like it's from Star Trek. BC Miroku on the top, so happy days. We open it up like a box of Krispy Kremes, and inside we've got these nicely polished choke cheese with the Invector Plus chokes inside. And then, lo and behold, the crappiest choke key in humanity. Okay? you would imagine you would get something better than this for replacing the inner tube on a bicycle. And just think, at a price point such as this, they have really done themselves a disservice. You know, Browning Miroku, if you buy a 525 or a 725, an XS Pro, you get that T-bar wrench, which ain't the best choke key in the world, let's not forget. But to put something like this in a gun at this price point, I think is preposterous. There you have it. That's been the MK11 requested review. It was something we had to do at some point. It's a beautiful looking gun. Sadly, it's not all it's cracked up to be. I'm sure it'll be around for a number of years because, like I said, in the UK, we are big Miroku fans, myself included. If you've got any comments about an MK11, I'm sure people are going to say mine balances absolutely fantastically. That may be the case, but this one don't. Comments below. Don't forget to check out the website. Email me directly. Don't forget to like and subscribe. From me and the MK11 with the poorly balanced barrels and the horrendous choke key, I'll see you next time.